Hey parents, welcome to our middle school camp parent information video. This is going to be a lot different than our normal weekly parent update videos because we have a lot of information to share with you all regarding our camp, which at the time of this recording is 7 days away. It's 1 week away. It's crazy just how fast this is all kind of caught up to us. So Will Paul and we're going to go through just some of the schedule things, packing, rooming, discipline, just all of that different stuff. That is going to be found in this video. This is the place for that. So I'm going to just go ahead and start us off with the information that we have for you. First off, Monday afternoon, our registration start time, students and you all should be arriving at right around 2 p.m. at the GCA Upper School parking lot. When you get here, you should see the buses out in front of the GCA Upper School, but that is where we will be. Make sure you have your forms signed, notarized, and ready to go. But that's 2 p.m. meeting at the GCA Upper School.
Yeah, and we plan on departing from the church at 2:30 and plan on getting to the Wilderness Resort at around 3:15. It's not very far away, just about a 45-minute drive. And yeah, that's the time we plan on getting there.
That's the beauty of being at the Wilderness, is that it is so close. So we will leave right around 2:30, get there around 3:15. So I just want to talk through our daily schedule here for a second. Once we get to the Wilderness that day, Monday afternoon, right around 3:30, give us some time to get off the bus, get unloaded. Right around 3:30, we'll go through some rules, some logistics, some different things with the students. We will check in right around 4 p.m. 5 p.m. we'll have dinner. 7:30 will be our first night session, and we'll, in a second, we'll talk about kind of what those night sessions look like, what we're teaching through this week. But 7:30 p.m. will be our first night session, 9 p.m. grace group time, and 12 a.m. midnight, and this will be the case for all the nights. Midnight will be lights out. Students won't be allowed outside of the rooms. Students will have to just quiet down a little bit. You know how students can get. But that's kind of what the first day looks like. I'm just going to do a general overview of the next two, Tuesday and Wednesday. Here's what the general schedule looks like there. So we've got morning quiet time. We've got our morning sessions, which is where we'll have some fun skits, games. We'll have some leader testimony. Some of our leaders are coming. My sister actually being one of them. Some of our leaders are coming and sharing their stories during these morning sessions. They're always such a beautiful, beautiful time of reflection on what the Lord has done. We're also going to have some times of teaching. So Ben Francisco and Brian Thomas are going to teach our 2 morning sessions. Those are just going to be great. These morning sessions are more focused on the head, just talking about some different things like how to study the Bible, how to disciple well, different things like that, whereas the night sessions really focused on the heart. So that's kind of what our morning sessions look like. We'll have grace groups after that. We'll have lunch about 12:45 to 4 p.m. every day. We'll have some just free time in the water parks, time for some tournaments. We'll play some spike ball, some cornhole, all of these different things. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll go to dinner, and then 7:30 p.m. every night is when our night sessions are going to be. So after that grace group, then lights out. And really that's kind of the general overview. That's what our schedule will look like. It'll be pretty much same rhythm, same schedule every day. Obviously some differences there in what we're teaching, what we're talking about, what we're doing, but that schedule will remain the same pretty much for those 2 days. So Will, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're teaching through, what we're talking about at camp next week?
Yeah, so the theme for this camp is that Christ is sufficient overall. We're really going to be narrowing out on 3 specific topics. Justin's going to hit on night 1 that Christ is sufficient for our salvation. I'm going to hit on night 2 that Christ is sufficient for our joy. And Justin's going to close us out on night 3 by hitting that Christ is sufficient for our today. This is a similar theme that we did at the Wave, the high school camp, but some of the texts are different. And yeah, we're just pumped to preach through this and show students and leaders as well, and us ourselves, see how Christ is sufficient in all the areas of life.
We want everybody that goes to this camp to leave it knowing that Jesus is enough, that Jesus is better. He is sufficient over not just the things that we're talking about. He's sufficient over everything. Yeah. So that's kind of the takeaway that we want our students, our leaders, our staff members, our band, everybody to come away with from this camp, sufficiency. So Thursday morning, the last day, our departure day, we're going to try to probably leave the wilderness around 9, maybe 9:15. We're going to load up about 9, so maybe about 9:15, 9:30, we'll get out of there, we'll leave. We're going to try to be back here at the church on Thursday, probably around 10, 10:15, 10:30. We'll keep you all updated as we leave, as we depart, but just keep in mind, probably around 10:15 a.m. is when we are planning to arrive back at Grace on Thursday. So let's talk a little bit about packing. We've had a lot of questions about the packing list, and we'll send out a full-on document with the whole entire packing list, but just a couple highlights for you all. First off, I want to talk about appropriate attire. Appropriate attire. So swimsuits obviously come up when you think about appropriate attire, but for girls, the rule is one pieces or tankinis that cover the stomach. And for guys, listen, guys, appropriate length shorts, please, appropriate length shorts. Guys' shorts have gotten just shorter and shorter every single year. So listen, appropriate attire. That doesn't just go for the swimsuits either. That goes for what you wear to the morning sessions, to the night sessions, to dinner, all of these different things. Just pack appropriate attire, guys and girls both. So other than that, I would hope that your student would bring a physical Bible. That's the hope, is that they bring a physical Bible alongside of them. We'll provide journals, we'll provide pens for note-taking, for all of that, but bring a Bible. And another essentially important thing is the water bottle. Please send your student with a water bottle. There are water fountains, water refilling stations, whatever, all across campus. But one of the most common things we see at these camps is these students just, they play hard, they go hard, and then by the end of the day, they're like, we have a headache, we ask why, and it's, I haven't drank any water today. So please send a water bottle with your students, a refillable one. And we've also had a lot of questions, and every year we get this question, but had a lot of questions about phones. Can your student bring their phones? Will, why don't you talk to that for just a second?
Yeah, so students are allowed to bring their phones, but as Justin, I think, mentioned earlier, they should not be on their phones very frequently. They should be left in the room at all times. And as Justin was going through the schedule earlier, our quiet time will start at about 8:30 in the morning, and our night sessions and grace group probably won't end until about 9:30 at night, right? So if there is to be contact, it will probably be early in the morning or late at night, because they shouldn't have their phones during the day as we're going through the breakouts, as we're in the water park, as we're doing things. But, if there is an emergency and you do need to contact someone, you've got us and the leaders who will have their phones on them. So don't get freaked out and think there's no way that you can communicate to your student, because there will be ways, but we're just going to try and keep them off their phones as much as possible.
Yeah, and we want to limit, the reason why is because we want to limit distractions as much as possible. We want this week, as we said, to be about the sufficiency of Christ. We want to eliminate those distractions as much as possible. So we're going to ask students if they have phones. I know some middle schoolers do, some middle schoolers don't, but if your student has a phone, we're going to ask them to keep it in the room all throughout the day. And just like Will said, if you need anything from your student, leaders will have their phones. Our staff will have our phones with us, so you will be able to get in contact with them. I want to talk for a second about kind of the rooming situation here at the Wilderness with us. So we at the church, we have just instituted a new child protection policy here at the church. And with that, we have a new overnight trip policy. That new overnight trip policy includes something called the 2 adult rule, meaning anytime that there's a room of students where an adult is present, there needs to be 2 adults there. So each of the rooms we're bringing together, there will be 2 adult leaders if they're in a room with students, right? There will be 2 adult leaders. And what that means is that we are bringing a lot of leaders, a lot of leaders. And I hope that speaks to some of the safety and security there as well, is we are going to have an abundance of leaders, of chaperones on this trip that are there to watch out for your student, that are there to lead your student, that are there to pour into your student. We'll have a lot of them. Another thing about the safety security side of things is that we're going to tell our leaders always need to be with their groups. Our leaders always need to be with their students. And so what this means is that obviously if there's a group of 30, like our 6th grade girl group is massive going to this camp, that those 30 people don't necessarily always have to stay together, but anytime that there are groups of students out, there needs to be a leader present. So that's what we're going to ask of our leaders, is that they always need to have eyes on their students. We're not going to allow for any room for students to just go wandering off with no supervision, no nothing. We recognize these are middle school students. We want to watch out for them. We want to protect them. So we're going to ask our leaders that they would be with them at all times. And as I said, we are bringing a lot of leaders, a whole lot of them. So I hope that eases some concerns there. Leaders should always be with their groups. So Will, why don't you talk for a second about emergency contacts, kind of what that looks like?
Yeah, so like we kind of hit on earlier, our emergency contacts, if you need to reach one of us ASAP, our emails are on the Grace BC website, so just look us up, shoot us an email, ask for our personal numbers. We'd be glad to give them to you. We want to stay in contact. But that being said, the emergency contacts are our staff, right? So like Brian, Justin, myself, Mary Beth, and Caitlin. And then the group leaders, if you need to reach out to them. And if worst case scenario, reach out to the church directly and they can get to us as well, right? And also a quick word about the on-site nurse. And we're not going to have one at the Wilderness. There's not going to be an on-site nurse coming with us like there was to Myrtle Beach, because one of the blessings about this camp is we're not far from Knoxville, right? So we're not far from familiar places and familiar people, so we didn't see a need to bring an on-site nurse to this camp.
So I just want to talk for a second here, and we're about to close. I know this has been a long video, but I want to talk for a second about discipline. So we as a team, we reserve the right to, if there is a major disciplinary issue, we reserve the right to send your student home. Now, when it comes to us going to the beach for the wave, that sometimes looks that looks a little different, because we have to ask, like, hey, we'll meet you halfway on your dime or send them home, whatever. But with middle school, the good news is we're close. We're really, really close. It's a 45-minute drive. But just know, if there is a major disciplinary issue, which we're obviously hoping and praying not, but if there is, we do reserve the right to send your student home, to ask you to come pick them up. So just know that. And Will, why don't you close us by giving these parents just some ways that they can be praying for this camp, because this camp needs a lot of prayer.
Yeah, absolutely. We would ask you to start praying as we're going to begin praying for this camp. Just for some specific things. First of all, for the students, that you would just pray for the hearts and the minds of students just to be softened, and just to be receptive to what will be taught, what will be preached at the camp, to the daily conversations that will be had, to the community that they're going to be around. There are all different aspects that you could pray for. So we just ask that you would pray for them, for the leaders as well, right? That the Lord would use the leaders, that the Lord would soften the hearts of the leaders, to soften our hearts, that we may be used for effective ministry to the students. We also ask that you would be praying for our travel to and fro. It's not long, but there's still much grace, road grace needed for every trip. And finally, we ask that you just pray for safety. We are going to be in a large water park with a lot of middle school students. So please just join us in praying for these areas as the Spirit leads you in specific ways as we prepare for going on this trip.
Listen, parents, we so appreciate your prayers. I want you to know that first and foremost. We so appreciate your prayers. We are so excited for next week. We're excited to see how the Lord is going to use it. We're excited to see how the Lord is going to work throughout it. And this is just exciting.
Yeah.
This is the first middle school camp that we have had at GSM since I was in 6th grade. So it has been a long time. It's been a while. And I think that this is just going to be an incredible time of intentionally pouring into your middle school students. So parents, listen, we love you. And if you have any questions whatsoever that weren't addressed in this video or elsewhere, please contact us, students@gracebc.org, and we would love to answer anything that you may have. Parents, thank you so much. I know this was long. We'll see you next week.